Such a delight to see everyone here. I'd like to sincerely apologize for us starting a little behind schedule. Actually, a whole lot behind schedule. But it's so good to see everybody here seated. To friends of TD from all over Abuja, gathering today to honor him at the launch of his latest book, The Investment Worthy Startup. It's my privilege here to welcome everyone. And seeing as we're starting a little bit behind schedule, we're going to go straight into the business of the day. And but before we do that, I want you to just look at the person next to you and tell the person that you actually witnessing a historical event. Yeah, say that. Yeah, we're part of history. We're part of history. Yeah, absolutely. I tell you why. I mean, Tidi is a man that the godfather, grandfather, the father, you know what I'm saying, of startup investments and building and all of that. And then he's taking all the knowledge that he has garnered over the years, the mastery that he has gained through the work that he has done for decades, and he's put it together in a book, which we're all going to launch today. So give yourself a round of applause. I think that's in order. And I've got to tell you also that Tidi was very insistent on having a select group of people. That's another reason for you to give yourself a round of applause, because you really are special. He insisted. He said, Phil, I don't want more than 20 people, 25 maximum. And he made that list. So congratulations and welcome, welcome, welcome. And so we all know that it is a very close-knit family group, team here, all connected to one man, the one and only TD, as we all know him. So let's give him a round of applause here. He's the reason why we're all gathered here. Okay, so the next thing I'm going to do, as we're all seated and ready, is to invite a few people to say one or two things about our own TD. Okay, so I want to be starting with a gentleman. I'll tell you a little story. Last year, his factory was launched somewhere in Abuja. And then TD calls me and says, I feel for the guy. Phil, just go help him. Make sure that everything is okay. That's the kind of heart that TD has for this guy. And he's here today. He's going to say one or two things about TD. Put your hands together for OKSA, the Chief Executive Officer, founder of Power Stove. He's going to tell us a little bit about his journey with TD. You have 2 minutes.
Thank you so much. It's an honor to be here. It's also a greater honor to have this floor to share my experience with TD. I met him, if I'm not mistaken, around November 2017, somewhere in Johannesburg, South Africa. Prior before that, I don't know who TD is. But in the room where we are having our boot camp is an assembly of 30 startups across Africa. We couldn't spot him out because he was wearing the same t-shirt like all of us. He has his hair quite cleanly shaved, so I didn't even know who he was. But the way he was contributing to the boot camp session, I was like, wow, this person is... I was thinking it's part of our startup colleagues. But after we finished the event, I happened to get to know him better, and I approached him. I said, sir, this is what I want to do. And the way he welcomed the idea, and also the story behind the technology. Ever since then, I found an angel in him. He was not only ready to sacrifice his time, his resources, his money, he was also ready to volunteer his net worth. Through putting his name and his picture on our pitch deck, the Power Stove has grown from idea to a sustainable company that we are now exporting outside Nigeria. That is courtesy of TD. And I'm happy to be here. Thank you so much.
Oh, wow. I've got to tell you something. TD's impact is unmissable. Because I've also been a beneficiary of that touch of TD, but I'll just be telling my story as we go along, because I met TD, when was that? 2001 or there. And it was just a very significant event. So just know that I've also been privileged to receive the touch of TD and his interest in building businesses, and I have never remained the same. So 21 years down the road, I'm still hot on his heels, you know what I'm saying? So yeah, I can identify with your growth and the impact that TD has made in your life. So next, I'm going to be calling up a phenomenal woman. I said she's phenomenal because the work that she does cuts across over 50 countries, I hear. And she's sort of like impacted people in over 400 startups or thereabout across Africa. That's not a joke. So just in case you are thinking that this thing that TD is always talking about, startups, angel investment, or whatever it is serious business. There are people whose lives are being touched by the work that TD does. And so, you know, for him to say, I want just a small crowd of 25 people to come, think again, you know, it's a very deep and heavy stuff that he's doing. So the next person I'm going to be calling up is the executive director for AfriLabs that is doing such fantastic work across Africa. And she's Anna.
Thank you so much. Good evening. Good evening, everyone. Well, I am honored to be here. I am super honored to be on this list that TD has put together. I do not take it for granted. Thank you. So TD, I don't even know where to start. I mean, when I was told that I have to say a few words, I was like, okay, which strand do I do? You know, is it TD the investor? Is it TD the mentor? Is it TD the friend? You know, is it TD the ecosystem builder? You know, I've known TD for over 7 years now. You know, when I started running AfriLabs, so AfriLabs is a network of innovation and tech hubs across 50 African countries. So over 400 members with over 1 million entrepreneurs actually that are part of our collective network. And when I started running AfriLabs over 7 years ago, we're just in 20 plus countries, you know, and we've grown. We've grown since then to cover over 50 countries. And every step of the way, I mean, there are certain milestones we've had for AfriLabs. One of them, for example, is that we brought our annual event home, right? For those of us in the development space, that's quite a big deal, you know, because we used to host it in Berlin back then, you know, they would fly everybody and all that. We brought it home, and since then, we've done it in a different African location. And the significance of each country, you know, bidding every year and hosting us has been quite immense and impactful to the ecosystem, because usually the government is involved, you know, and from there we have funds that are being set up for entrepreneurs. We have policies that are being implemented. We have more support going to that ecosystem for entrepreneurs. And each time we have, you know, an event, TD is there for us, you know, and he's not just there in presence. He's there, you know, he mobilizes his community. He speaks to people. He inspires people. You know, he meets with the government. Just last year we had Zambia. He had a reason not to be there, to be honest. Like, I wouldn't say it, but he had a personal reason not to be there for us in Lusaka. But he showed up, you know. And in fact, the things that are happening post the event in Zambia, even him just speaking to the government and the minister and everything, there is more support for the startups there. You know, the government is setting up a fund for Zambia. It's the same conversation happening in Rwanda this year, you know, with our annual gathering that is going to happen in Kigali, you know. Other things we've done together, you know, over the years, whether it's a setup of catalytic fund, you know, with ABAN, Africa Business Angel Network. It's a model that, and that's even what, you know, the government is now emulating in different countries, and the angel investors, just mobilizing angel investors across Africa, you know, connecting them with entrepreneurs, catalyzing that private sector investment, matching it with development funding, matching with government funding. These are models that did not exist in this form, you know, and TD has been a driving force, you know, working with us. But other than that, just as a friend and a mentor, working in this space is tough, you know. Building, I mean, we heard the gentleman there talking about building his business. Building a business on this African continent is hard, you know. And I've seen TD time and time again show up and show out for the entrepreneurs that he invests in, for the entrepreneurs he supports. Even just 5 minutes with him, you know, you get advice that can make, you know, just unclog that challenge you've been facing, you know, for weeks or months on end, you know. And every time every time he shows up, and if he can show up, he will do something that is impactful. He will link you to someone that can help out and all of that. And that's TD. It's a spirit of giving, it's a spirit of sacrifice. He genuinely cares for the African continent, and in everything he does, you could tell, you can see it in all his endeavor, and even in this book, he has poured out years, and in fact decades of his work into this book. The poem framework, we've been talking about it, we've implemented it, we've seen the success stories of the poem framework, which would be if you read the book, you read about it and everything, as a framework that works in supporting startups. We keep talking about African solutions and African models that work for this ecosystem. That is what TD is building. That's what he's doing. That's what he's poured out, through this book. So thank you for your gift of us, of you to us. And I'd like to say a special thank you to his wife, who is here, because every time we'll always say thank you to Madame. She allowed you to come out. So we really appreciate it. I can imagine the hours and hours you also put in, even to make all of this happen and all that, the reviews. And I know how TD is when he's like, he has an idea and he just keeps hammering on and on. So yes, exactly. So thank you so much. And congratulations on a successful launch.
Thank you so very much. We just heard from Anna Ekeledu of AfriLabs. Yeah, TD. 5 minutes with TD makes a world of difference. 5 minutes with TD and you're still the same. You need more than laying on of hands. And then, when you talk about him having a heart for Africa, he does have a heart for Africa. Even when Nigeria would do everything to frustrate the living daylight out of TD. He go vex, he go say, I don't live enough for that country, but his heart is here. I would just turn my back like this, and TD is back here, doing one thing, touching one life, giving somebody hope. You know what it is? That you create one startup. That startup, you empower the startup to employ how many jobless Nigerian youths? You get what I'm saying? The knowledge that is being transferred, the growth that is happening, all sorts of things. You're plucking them one by one out of troubled waters, and giving us a more peaceful country, a more peaceful continent. So thank you very much, TD. And one thing I've got to tell you is that all of this is not coming out of vacuum. Everything is emerging from home, isn't it? Okay, so right here in this congregation, in this gathering, we have somebody from way back. Okay, a little history. I know her separately. I know TD way from way back separately. And then yesterday, boom, my cousin. And I'm like, cousin? XYZ is your cousin? He said, yes. I said, but I know her too. So immediately, I went to her picture on my WhatsApp, and I sent him. I said, you mean this, is it this person? He said, yes, that's my aburo, And so she's here. She's Data Amakri. And so, I'm a little bit emphasizing this thing about cousin. Data is all the way from Port Harcourt. Me, I know Lagos. I know TD as a Lagosian. I didn't see the connection between an Amakri and a Davies being cousins like that. You know what I'm saying? All right, so she's here. She's a former director of Youth, Sports and Culture, Women Affairs of Niger Delta Development Commission, NDDC in Rivers State. And she's here today to say a word or two about her cousin.
That was a beautiful introduction. The devil is a liar. Do you know my shoe has just broken? But the job goes on. So please forgive me if I'm sitting down. Thank you very much. We're amongst family. All protocols observed. I match you, devil. So, true. Cousin on my right, cousin. In fact, I have to add darling cousin on my left, because our mothers were, my mother's late, but Tomi's mother and my mother were inseparable. And we should actually learn to emulate the last generation, the meaning of family. If I close my eyes, if I'm stranded in London, I don't have to go far. I have family. Okay. I was actually asked to give some words on Tomi. And I said, oh, I can do it. It's on my head. I can do it. Until I went and checked his... Hey, my dear. I said, no, I have to share this. The English go even twist my mouth, but I must share it. And then afterwards, please indulge me if I say a few personal words. Harry, Tomi Davies, fondly called TD by all, am I correct? Is collaborator-in-chief at TVC Labs, an entrepreneurship support organization working with technology-enabled innovation in Lagos, Nigeria, which he founded. Clap for him, please. TD is the founding president of the African Business Angel Network and board member of the Global Business Angel Network. Every time I say something, clap. Because me, I was counting. As an active stakeholder in the African startup ecosystem, he values intellect, innovation, independence. The three I's. Repeat after me. Intellect, innovation, independence. I'm changing my CV. I beg. Collaboration and integrity. Integrity didn't come last for a reason. Integrity is very key because we have been mixing with non-integrity people. So that word integrity should come with the three I's. I'm doing it one more time. Intellect, innovation, independence, integrity. Clap for me. In all our relationships, TD believes that humans are using technology to build a better life for humankind, and innovative African startup founders are using technology to build a better Africa. He also firmly believes that supporting innovative startups creates economic value and social impact, and that innovation hubs and business angels are a critical local resource to founder and startup growth. Now, I had to ask my cousin from the Riverside, but what exactly does Tomi do? She said, this is what Tomi does. He's already come to the country before, done his lecture, everybody understands. He still comes. I said, listen, did you get to meet that guy? Were you able to get that thing? Well, you haven't done it? No. He follows up. Please clap for him. He doesn't stop there. He wants you to grow. And that's what we're all looking for, a little bit of help. Honestly, I'm counting the claps. That's 5. Let's go on. Fire. So, yeah, next one. He asserts that local-led international support accelerates the development of the African startup ecosystems. After graduating from the University of Miami in 1982, TD led innovative technology-enabled transformation initiatives from influential global brands. Get ready to count again. Such as Elf, as in Elf, the oil company, not these dwarfs that we see around in Nigeria. Aquitaine, Marks and Spencer, Ernst and Young, and Sapient across Europe, the United States, and Southeast Asia. That's 3 continents, 1 human being, my cousin. In 2000, his focus shifted to Africa, where he worked on various technology-led innovation initiatives in Nigeria, South Africa, Ghana, Kenya. Are you counting? I mean, his passports must be filled up in about... And I'm not talking necessary Niger. Get Oibo passport again. No. So let's move on. Using his goal-oriented approach to project delivery, which inspired his 2014 book, The African Project Manager. I actually would love to have a copy of that. please. I know we're here for another book launch, but we didn't start today. I want to know how to make this money. Okay. In December 2021, TD was named as one of the 100 most influential Africans of 2021. Can you clap properly? One of the most 100. Hey, this is unbelievable. And I was going to talk about that time we used to fight behind the, hey, this is history. TD is chairman of Power Stove Renewables and non-executive director at MBO Capital, a private equity, and sits on the boards of Big Cabal Media and Entertainment, and Laptops for Learning, L4L, Nigeria EduTech NGO. He also chairs the Innovative Committee of the Lagos State Science Research and Innovation Council. Another clap, please. As an angel investor with insights gained from a growing portfolio of tech-enabled startup ventures originating from Africa, his personal goal is to find, fund, and I can't hear you. You people have been listening. I love that. Find, fund, and follow. Remember I was telling you, he finds who's looking for help, he gets the funding, and he follows up. That is... Anytime you want to run for president, I will be your campaign manager. African founders that are using technology-enabled innovation to create economic value and social impact on the continent that builds Africa's future together. And he keeps talking about Africa, Africa, Africa. So the answer is in Africa. We have to stop looking at Oibo man. You know, we've got to get our act together. These founders are the inspiration and target of his 2023 book, Investment Worthy Startup, which lays out his poem framework as a tool for the building tech-enabled startups on the continent and their investors. Thank you very much. I hope it was an interesting read. At least some of you that didn't know, now you know. Can I have a better clap? This one is for me. I don't think I should spend any longer because I'm sure other people have things to say, but I will tell them next time when we used to fight in one corner there. Okay, thank you very much.
Oh, wow. Thank you, Cousin Data. That was awesome and amazing. Yeah. Okay, so, don't you wonder how it is that TD is able to go all over the world unfettered, uninhibited, totally and completely, freely pursuing his passion? Okay, there's a reason why. I'm sure you know where I'm going with this. And the reason why you see the right beside him here today, she's freely loaned him to us, freely allowed him, to traverse the continent of the world, seeking ways to grow the African startup ecosystem and, generally help really now alleviate poverty in the continent. If you know what I'm saying, well, let's go get more practical with it. So yeah, there's a reason. I mean, she could have just said to him, why don't we just go retire to some farm where we're eating fresh fruits every day, pluck mango from the tree, get coconut water first thing in the morning from the tree. And you know what I'm saying? I mean, he's worked so hard. He's earned that kind of cool retirement, but yeah. So everyone here, put your hands together for Mrs. Lola Davies, as she comes to say a word about this great man that she's loaned to us and how, proud he's made her.
Good evening, everyone, and thank you all for coming. I've heard so much about my husband. First, I give God the glory for him, for his life, and for what he loves to do best. And in the ecosystem, I would leave that, like you said, I've loaned him to the world, to the eco world, focusing more on Africa, because that's his call, that's where he loves, that's what he wants to do. And I will probably narrow it into to the home front, where we then allow him to fly, you know, and be the best he can be. Tomi Davies is a handsome husband of mine. Is an admirable father of 3 children, and a doting grandpa or grams to our 2 grandsons. And he's a man of many parts, in the sense that you're all aware how he travels to many continents, but he always creates a time for his family. Hence, we don't miss that quality time, and we're able to manage all of it, you know, all the balls. But Tomi breathes and lives his computers. Technology, he has the foresight, he's able to tell, you know, we kind of relate to each other, but because for those that heard about the Lagos launching, we seem to be in a parallel world, because I work with children, he works with startups. And for the children, I work with children from 6 months, say, to 6 years, and then they fly. They go university and all. So he works for startups, as in baby companies that have been registered from 6 months to 6 years. So it's kind of parallel, because I then focus on more on the Montessori element of childcare, which I see, you know, when I listen, and you know, when we share all the all the challenges and the journey that he's going through with the startups, because I hear, that's why I know about Power Stove and so many other companies, Afilabs, and even the younger ones, and how they have the focus. He has that ability to encourage young and vibrant and energetic young boys and girls growing to become men and then flying out of the nest. And so that way we kind of balance out. So for the element of today, I will focus on the book called The Investment Worthy Startup. There were sleepless nights. There were nights he got frustrated, he got flustered, and I tried to be there. I mean, I was there to encourage him. In every detail, you know, I become the soundboard, basically, and we do that to each other. So he did persevere, and the book was finished. And it was published on the 8th of February, which is a special date, and, you know, to the Tomi Davies family. So we're so pleased. And that was why when I was asked to talk about him, I would, you know, just stick to that, because he has dedicated this book to his 2 grandsons as well. And I read, I read that at the Lagos launching, you know, that on the book of on the page of the dedication, it says, this book is dedicated to those aspiring and using innovation to build a better Africa, and to my 2 grandsons, Kanyolu and Kayo Kari, whom I hope get to read this book in the future. I've put all I know about building great African startup companies in here for you to use and to make even better. All my love, Grams. When the grandsons came, that's the name he was given, as Grams. And even if TD is even talking to the president of anywhere, and those little boys come into the room, they go on his lap and they go, that's my grandson. That's so many of you must have seen them in their pictures. And like I told you as well, the Lagos one, Kanyo Lua is starting to read now because he's 5. And unknown to him, he was so proud when Grams showed him, you know, gave him the book and said, this is for you. So that when he's with his friends, he goes, oh, look, come and see, my Grams wrote a book. So I'm so pleased at that in spite of his journey, traveling all over, he is quite good at home with us and the family. And we've had quality moments where there are times I may step into it and say, do you know this holiday? No computers, no laptops, so that he can also rest, But we've been able to manage everything, all the jobs that he's been doing. And I do go with him. And thanks for inviting me to the next one. So, Tomi, congratulations again. I love you. The children love you. Your grandsons love you. And we wish you all the best. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you so very much. You've heard from Mrs. Lola Davies, and it's about time to call up the man of the moment. I really don't know how to introduce him right now because, Dada has done such a fantastic job. All I can say, I need to take a peek here. Yeah, all right. So listen to this. 39 venture investments in his angel portfolio. Put your hands together. 562 jobs created. Guess what? Not in his decades-long career, but since 2021. Count. 2021, 2022, 2023. And where are we? We're in what? We're in April 2023. So we're talking about 562 jobs. Oh my. Over 8 million US dollars revenue generated. And 13%, also, there's a whole lot of gender balance here. Yeah. It's, 13%, women founders, that's got to say a lot, right? And then we have 202 people, female employees. Now I'm just gonna, 1, 2, 3, 4. The list is endless, but let's just start with Sproxale. How many of you know that TD was absolutely a part of Super Striker? How many of us know Super Striker? You know Super Striker? You know that TD was part of it, but part of the whole story. Okay. I'm sure he's going to tell us a whole lot more about what he's done. So right about now, I have the singular privilege of making welcome Mr. Tomi Davies, popularly known by all of us who love him as TD. So I want to hear us chant TD, 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 TD in the house.
Y'all know this is embarrassing, don't you? I'm used to being behind the camera, not in front of it. First and foremost, I'd like to say thank you. Okay? And as everybody said, I said earlier, the reason I wanted a small gathering is I wanted to be able to eyeball everybody. Okay? I know, yes, Nigerian launches. I launched this book with, I'm not doing that. Okay? That's not what I'm about. I want to thank you. This book came out of my first foray into startups in the 1990s, during what we call the dot-com era. At that time, I had the privilege of being the chief operating officer for the Ernst & Young incubator called futurewealth.co.uk. And we did research for 6 months on what it takes to build a successful, fast-growing company. Because that's what a startup is. They grow so fast, you don't know what's happening. And why do they grow fast? Because they're innovation. They're doing things nobody's done before. If you're talking of a hotel or a restaurant, there's nothing wrong. People are making billions with either of those, but that's not what startups are about. It's when you talk about Airbnb, that's disruption. Nobody was doing it that way before. Taxis, we've been doing taxis forever until Uber came. That's what startups are all about. Some people talk about disruption, disrupting the existing status quo. I talk about innovation. Okay? Yes, it's being done, but it can be done better. How are you doing it better? If you can't answer that question, you probably don't have a startup on your hands. But if you are doing it better, then you start to think, for who? But I don't want to spoil the pleasure of your reading of investment-worthy startup. I just wanted to give you sort of a genesis of it, and the fact that I thought when COVID came along, and I got stuck in Nigeria for about, 6 months? And eventually I returned to my wife and kids, and it was, hey, you can't go out. There's COVID about. What are you going to do? Stay at home. I've run a virtual team. Those of you that know me, I've run a virtual team for the better part of 25 years. So it wasn't about that. It was about the fact that I couldn't jump on a plane. In I think it was 2017, okay, I was in 19 countries. And I enjoy that. But since you couldn't do that, what do? Codify. So that's how the book came out. So it's a COVID baby. As my wife would tell, we actually even moved into a new place to make it all, And just as I finished the book, we moved out. So we can attribute the book to that particular residence. But what I want to leave you with, if nothing else, is this, which is what my cousin Data was saying. I honestly do believe that technology is helping us build a better future. And that those entrepreneurs that are innovating with technology, okay, are actually not just making money. They're having an impact. They're changing lives. They're making lives better. And for me, that's what it's all about. So people like myself, Anna, and in fact, most of you in here, Bankole and all the others, okay, that are supporting these startups are actually a critical resource. And finally, yes, I could grab a lot the best of them. And if y'all want me to put a glide in my stride, a dip in my hip, I could get onto the mothership. I could be as American as anybody, and I can be very British. But international support needs to be locally led for it to accelerate our development. International support needs to be locally led. Okay? This is not about drop shipping. We are the ones that understand our challenges and our problems. We're not saying we don't need help, but don't tell us what to do. That's where I take offense. And that's what this is about. Okay? So feel free to quote me on that front. I'm not saying Africa does not have challenges. We all know. Okay? And I'm not saying international people cannot help us. But I'm saying help us help ourselves. Don't tell us what to do. So if you don't take anything else away from today, please take that away. Okay? We can, we will. So help us, God, build a better Africa using technology. And that's why we're here. Thanks a lot for listening.
Thank you so very much, Didi. So we're not going to say a whole lot more. We're just going to go straight into reading the book. I mean, that's why we're here. We're just going to go straight into reading the book, and then we have two gentlemen and a lady who will be doing justice to that. So allow me first and foremost to call up Farida. Yeah, she's the founder of She Included, a female. Do you want to? All right, so put your hands together for her. She's going to be sitting here. Sit down there, yes. And then we have Folajimi Ogunleye. Folajimi is of Jumbo.ng, one of the startups that has benefited from TD's tutelage and hand-holding. And finally, Titi is so proud of the Casey boys. You know, they were about the first to be here. So we have one of the Casey boys here. I just don't mind that he's, you know, he's bigger than a boy, but let's just live with Casey, old boy. He's Alabo Agiobu Kema. Please come forward, sir. Okay, so I also will love at this point in time to invite, he's not reading, but he's just sort of like going to listen to the readers read, and then he'll just have a couple of questions for them. So they review the book that way. So put your hands together for Bankole Oloritoba, my own personal person and brother. Yes, so, all right. So here's how it goes. You just tell us, okay, hold on a sec. I think I'll do this. Do you want to? All right. So, Bankole, it's over to you.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. It's a pleasure to be pseudo-moderating you today. TD has been our leader in the ecosystem. You know when they say follow the leader, you have to follow the leader to the T. When we started Inspire Incubator, TD was the first advisor we ever got. And Inspire Incubator was the first incubator in Abuja. That was the first AfriLab office. That was the first of almost every startup that came out of Abuja office. And TD was really instrumental in helping us set it up. And so today we'll be talking about all the lessons that we've learned, you know, from the book that you're going to read. So it's very simple. You read what you've been told to read. Would you like me to ask you questions afterwards or when everybody else has finished so that we can have a very nice conversation, right? Okay, so we're going to do it that way, right? You will read something. We will all assimilate it. I'll pick up a few questions. And so when he's done reading, then we can have a very just simple conversation about what your thoughts are and how do you see that reflect in all the, you know, within the startup culture, as you know. So over to you.
Okay. Good evening, everyone. Can you hear me? Okay, so I'll do the introduction again. I know Phil was excitedly introducing me. So I am not the founder of Shicluded. I'm the VP of Partnerships at Shicluded. Shicluded is Africa's first fintech company that is based solely on women. So I'm going to read the book now. I'm reading from chapter 2, if anyone has a copy and wants to follow. Share the future you see. The question of what exactly it is you're building, assessing and learning should start with some old-fashioned thinking about what you see in the future, your vision. It means working yourself through a process that recognizes you're preparing to build or may already be building a business. Again, that's exactly what your startup is. That could change the world. To help others assess the viability of your vision, you should be able to articulate it as a tangible problem or challenge for a set of human beings, with your personal story providing the solution as a startup business. So, once more, what's the problem or challenge you see, and what exactly is your innovative solution to it? That's it.
Thank you very much. A round of applause for her. A round of applause for Farida. So, please, you're going to introduce yourself again. Okay. Your name, and then you can read.
It's on.
Thank you.
It was. I don't know if you switched it off.
Okay. Good afternoon, everyone. So I'll be reading from. Okay. Good afternoon, everyone. So I'll be reading from chapter 2. Know how big the problem or challenge is. Page 23. The problem or challenge you're addressing is at the heart of your startup idea. So that's where you start. It's what intrigues people about your business and it ultimately becomes the focal point for everything you build. So before you begin your startup, ask yourself, what problem or challenge are we addressing? Why is this question so important? It's important because you can never build anything bigger than the problem or challenge you're trying to address with your venture. The problem or challenge could be financial, health and well-being, environmental, logistical, educational, economic, or social. So the next critical question is, are we solving a meaningful problem on both the demand and supply side, or at least on one of them? Or are you simply attempting to foster another copycat competitor onto an already overcrowded marketplace?
Thank you.
It's okay.
Over to you, sir.
My name is Alaba Ogewukema. I want to welcome you all and thank TD once again for the opportunity to be here. I'm also reading from chapter 2, incidentally. I don't know why we all chose chapter 2, but I believe it's because the author, found it necessary right from the get-go to let his readers know exactly what they have to do. So starting from scratch, you get into the thick of things and know exactly where you're starting from. But I'm going to read from page 26. Understand people that the problem affects. I was reading recently a book about internet businesses and how people can make money. And the author gave himself a challenge of making $24,000 in a day. And he now had to use that catch, to get people to subscribe and look at what he was doing. But the truth is that he did a lot of background work before he ever got to that point. So by the time he was carrying out his show or demonstration, he already had, things he had done behind. That's like the back burner or something, before getting to that point. And he actually succeeded and even went beyond the target he set for himself. So my point is that what he has brought out that I've taken from this is that you can have a product like he read that may be a copycat of something somebody else has done. You may be producing a good product, but do people really actually want it? So if you're not addressing a problem that people want addressed, you're only solving a problem for yourself, and you might be the only buyer. So let me read. To create a successful startup, it's important first to understand the problem you are trying to solve. This problem statement will determine who is affected by your solution and why you need to thoroughly understand what the needs of the people affected are. For example, if you are creating a new messaging app, your problem statement might be something like, how can we make it easier for people to stay in touch with their friends and family? This problem statement will affect anyone who wants to stay in touch with friends and family, regardless of where they are located. It's also important to understand how the problem or challenge affects the people concerned. For example, if your problem statement is, how can we make it easier for people to stay in touch with their friends and family? You might think that the biggest challenge is getting people to download your app. However, if your target audience is busy working professionals who are already overloaded with notifications, you need to design your app to minimize distractions and make it easy to send a message quickly. So understanding your problem statement is essential to creating a successful startup. By knowing whom you are trying to help and how the problem affects them, you can focus on solving the right problem and making a difference in people's lives. It's not enough to know that there is a problem out there. You need to drill it down and understand the specific needs of the people affected by it. Only then can you start to develop a solution that meets those needs. Thank you.
A round of applause, please. Thank you very much to our readers. And on behalf of what you've read, I would like to know your thoughts. And that's basically just to, help us see from the lens of the writer what you think the writer means about, points like this. We know that in startup vision is very important. From your experience of engaging, even with the startup that you're dealing with now, and all the other ones you've come across, because I remember you used to write stories about startups and co from Northern Life and co. So how has the role of vision played with all the different people that you were engaged? and also in line with what TD shared.
Okay, thank you so much. So I think one of the things that I noticed, and I think it was one of the first things I said to him when I came up to him this evening, was the importance of founders being able to remove the idea from their head and put it on paper so that people can actually run with that vision and build what they are trying to build. A lot of times when I speak to startup founders, they feel like they micromanage their team. They feel like they are the only ones that know how to do it. I usually say to startup founders that if you are not the least smart person in the room, then there's a problem. So it's good that you have the idea, it's good that you have the vision, but you need to have people around you that will be able to run with that vision and build something that is sustainable. And when you look at the POEM framework, which he outlines here, that really coincides with the O, which is the organization. It's very important for you to have a strong team that would be able to build, that future that you want. So for me, I feel, again, what I read really aligns with what I believe, and reading that from him, knowing that that is actually how he thinks about it, because he has, of course, decades of experience more than I do, that sort of like solidified and sort of like validated what I've been trying to tell the startups that I work with.
Thank you so much. A round of applause. Thank you. Your name, please. Fola. Thank you, Fola Jimmy. You have a startup, right? Jumbo NG. You read about how big the problem is.
Yeah.
So if you're going to tie the vision that she spoke about, which definitely you have a vision for the startup, right? How did you understand how big the problem was for you to think it was viable enough to start a business?
Okay, so when I first met TD last year, that was around March, he asked me, the first thing was, what are you doing? Sorry. Okay, so he asked, what are you doing? What is the product about? And what differentiates you from Omnibus? To be honest, I didn't really know Omnibus. But I just told him we're doing A, B, and C. I said, okay. So fortunately, we got into the TVC Labs program, and then that's when I realized that we had just scratched the surface of our idea. It was there that we were able to identify what we really were doing, who our target customer was, and how big the market was. That's when we understood the importance of knowing your market, because as it rightly says in the book, your product can never be bigger than its market. So when we started, we were thinking, our market is so $billion. It's like maybe $100 billion, because we're talking about people like Dangote and co. By the time we finished the program, our market was like $1.4 billion. That was the target market. So, but we were able to narrow down. We had a vision, we had our product, we had a direction, we knew what we're doing. So it's important to be able to identify your product and then identify your market from being able to identify your product.
So how did vision? How did that shape your vision of the company?
Okay, so for the vision, before you can identify the product, you actually have to have a vision. You have to know what you want to achieve. So for us, before we started Jumbo, we had a problem. And our problem was that we were distributing Greek yogurt to retail brands across Nigeria. We couldn't get temperature control vehicles. And the only way we could get our products from Lagos to Abuja was by air freight, which was really expensive. They were talking about 500 naira per kilo. So we wanted to find a solution to that. In the process, after speaking to manufacturers, we got to realize that this was a bigger problem than just us. So that's what led to our vision. But it's through this TVC Labs program, this POEM framework, that we're able to actually identify our vision. Because TD talks about vision, purpose. The last one has just obviously in my head. Then the last one, which is your big audacious goal, and it was through that we're able to identify our vision and know where we're actually heading before we now talk about the product and the customers and the market.
All right, thank you very much. A round of applause for Fola. Mr. Okebe, so from what I understood from what you read, was around understanding who you really who the problem actually affects, right? So from the demography to the customer segment, the types of customers. From your own view, from what TD has shared with us, how do you think companies miss it when they don't understand who really gets affected by that problem?
Thank you. First of all, let me say that the saying a prophet is not recognized only in his own country.
Oh, yeah.
Applies to somebody like me. I remember that I was talking, when she was reading through, his write-up to introduce him, that she said, oh, wow, there are things there that she had just discovered and had to really go back to the old days to recognize the person that she had been calling her cousin. And the same thing applies to me. TD has been, a classmate from when we were about 11 years, according to him, till now. And unfortunately for me, it's like after a few years together, he disappeared from the scene. To me, it's like, most of these geniuses cannot be fitted into a mold. So somehow or the other, they are not they are not regular. You can't actually pinpoint and package them like other people like us. So after so many years, I'm finding that this guy really is a titan, is a prophet. Okay? Now I've tried going into business on my own, but I was more into civil service, which I learned today is civil service. And the issue, where I take from that portion I read, and to answer your question, is that it's not enough to have a vision, that there's something you want to do. You also need to know, who are you targeting with that your vision? Because you can't please everybody. So, in order to make an impact with your vision, and you're not going to, satisfy everybody. So who are those who actually need that vision? Sorry, I'm a Christian. Jesus had a group of disciples, a close-knit group. My friend here said he doesn't need a whole crowd, 25 people. You understand? That's what mentorship is about. You impact people who can impact the world. So, you have a vision. You need to know how to make it effective. Who actually needs what you have to give? How can they benefit from it in a way that will benefit the larger society? Because if you pick the wrong candidates, somebody who wants to just be a laborer, you are trying to train him to be a professor in the university. You are wasting your time. So you need to know and identify what are the factors impinging on what you want to do. Who are the stakeholders? Who are the people going to be affected? How are you going to carry the message to them in a way that they understand and can also go ahead with that, your vision? And that's where the vision is important, because you need to translate it in a way that your mentees can understand. So once a company does not get that right and they feel no, they have the answer to the Gordian knot, and they go about it the way they feel, does it actually answer the problem? Because, like, for instance, I went into a community in Bayelsa. Initially, I wanted to just have a cyber cafe. Before I could go back there, somebody else had the same thing. And I felt, in any case, the community is too small, for us to be competing side by side. But I now realize that it's a farming community. So what do they need? They need things that can help them process their products and market them. That's where they need the most help. And I feel that getting into that line of business is what will benefit me. I used to be a civil servant. Now I'm trying to be a farmer. I was growing poultry and fish in Abuja, but my estate has grown too big for all that. So I've retired to the rural country, and I feel that's a better element for me Now I have to start that process of reading my poem very thoroughly so that I get things right. Thank you.
Thank you very much to all of you, and thank you everyone else also for listening. We hope that we've been able to share, at least to a certain perspective, what we think TD is saying. But you know, TD is master of it. I'm sure one line of his book, TD can give us about 20 examples with 20 different ventures about one particular line on his book. And he has been very instrumental to the start of almost every ecosystem you can find that is bubbling in Africa. And we're really grateful for your time. Thank you for the mentorship. Since from ATV, when I was working in Abuja Technology Village, I was telling them about Inspire Incubator, that TD was the first advisor that told us what exactly it meant to run an incubator before anybody else would take it serious. Even Abuja Angels Network also, remember, we wrote the first concept note for Abuja Angels Angels Network, and quite a number of other programs like that. The guest panelists have tried their best, but again, I will employ all of you to get a copy of this book for yourself, for your library, for your company, for your office, and even for your staff. Thank you so much.
I actually thought we were going to make that applause a little more rousing. Okay. Yeah, show the book, please. Yes, hold the book up. There we go. All right. So thank you very much for Lajimi Ogunle of Jumbo NG. Thank you, Farida of Shikludet. Thank you, Alawa Kema of KC, and TD's friend from way, way, way back. Banky, my bro, thank you very much. And we're going to take some questions. So if we have like 10 minutes to take some questions for TD. TD, do you wanna mind? So do you mind? What were you zapping off to? All right, so the man TD is right here. So if you have a question, we'll just take 3 questions. You have a question for TD, put your hands up. I'll just take the first 3 hands that go up. 1, 2, 3, go. All right, so 3. We have 2. Where's 1? Oh, fantastic. You guys have made my life so much easier. MC, please pass the mic to Banky. Okay, so the questions, TD, the mic over.
Relax, TD. Don't be worried. I'm not asking about VC ratio. I'm not doing VC ratio today. So, TD, you've done everything from beginning till the end. Like, you wrote the whole book and the whole Bible. So what next now after the show?
Okay, well, what's next? Those of you that know me know I'm always cooking up something or the other. All right? And what I believe I have in my hands now is a programmable economic development engine. Programmable economic development engine. Okay? Now, we have certain advantages that have been created. The first is the use of biometrics for identification in our environment. What that means is we know who the individuals are. But probably more importantly, what most of you won't know is we have a 2.5% population growth rate with a declining GDP. So we've got a serious challenge on our hands. And we've got to design our economic growth. We can't afford to do it haphazard anymore. And we have mechanisms for doing that. So if you know any of the people in the transition or in any of these places or what have you, I'm dead serious, okay? We identify the area, we invest in it, and we grow it. And that is the opportunity I see. But for me personally, priority 1, they're called the Ks, okay? And I know they're watching because I just saw a picture of them watching. KK, Kayolua, this is Gramps. Love you lots. Even in Abuja, You're still my priority. Don't mind them. I'll be back soon with Gigi, okay? I'm bringing Gigi back soon. Oh, by the way, my wife's called Gigi. All right? So that's sort of, for me, priority 1. Priority 2, you see this young man? Please stand up. He came out of a program we call Mentor Pitch. We no longer accept angel investors that don't mentor. If you don't have time to spend with founders, you don't have a right to give them money through us. You can go and give them money. I'm not saying you can't. But if you're going to do it the way we do it, you've acquired a lot of knowledge, you've acquired a lot of depth. Share it. Give them access to your network. Then you can talk about cash. So that's my day job. Twice a year, 5 startups. Okay, 10 startups a year, 12 weeks using the POEM framework. I'm privileged enough, I have an increasing number of friends who are joining me on that course. When we started, there was 8 of us. There's 17 of us currently and growing. In addition, we talked about African Business Angel Network, Abby. When I started in 2015, there were 5 networks. We've now grown it to where we have 1,700 angels, okay, in over 45 countries. That'll continue. What we're doing now is we're introducing the concept of thematic angel networks. We've got a challenge with sustainable agriculture. Why can't we invest specifically in that and grow people in that? We've got a challenge, okay, with clean tech. I love the work OK is doing. It gives me bragging rights. Let's start angel networks in that direction. Digital trade is one of the fastest growing, and it's going to be with us a while. Why can't we have people who understand that and build companies around that? And last but not the least, smart cities. The population growth I talked about is very real. And we're going to need technology mechanisms to be sustainable. So let's have investors in those veins. So last year we created 4 new angel networks under those thematics. I've been banging the drum of the Europeans and everybody that will listen to fund it. And we'll continue to do that work. Last and not the least is Catalytic Africa, my matching grant fund. In collaboration with my sister that just left, Anna, and her team. Oh, Nanko's here, fantastic. Give her a round of applause, please. Our intention is to sell that to government so that they understand that they can actually define, okay, and influence private sector investments in a positive way, not a thou shalt. So those are the areas I'm looking forward to going forward. Thanks for asking.
Okay, my question has already been answered. I want to video myself. Sorry, darling. No need be style. But anyway, mine can go down. So all the time, this gentleman was speaking and explaining the problem he had with frozen vehicles, and my brother here from Niger Delta was explaining that you have to put things in place. To me, I was lost in how does this government run? It sounded as if you were, as if Nigerian government needs lessons on how to run the country. And you answered my question by saying that if any of you have connections in the next coming up set of people, I would think they would be very interested, like I suggested to the last people, they have to have courses on ethics and values, because it's missing from your civil service. I'm so sorry to say that. So the same thing here, when a good team, what is needed, what will be interesting. You have something called humanitarian, and they're giving, what do you call it, palliatives? Everybody has received theirs, right? But you asked one question, is that what I'm interested in? Is that the need? So I think actually, I know this is about startup business, but we need something for startup governments. They're controlling a lot of money. They need a course. It's interesting because young people like this can be brought up into, it's how to run a business, how to run a country. I mean, think about it. Everything he's saying about him is getting him to the next level. And we're just playing chess in government. But if we had this kind of education, think about it. It's putting the things in the right places. So you've got me thinking. You've got me thinking. Watch this space. It's making sense. It starts from somewhere. I mean, do you understand what I'm saying? Yeah, because the future generation, sorry to say, does not have direction. We just have people that are in power, but they're not leading. Do you understand what I'm saying? Yeah. But if they know where they're being led to, like, no, I understand what they're saying. But no, they just wake up in the morning, have their bath, get dressed, and then eat.
Okay. Right. I don't want to embarrass it, but I'm going to tell you a story. You see, we talk about innovation and foresight, but we don't really appreciate men of vision. Okay? And the story I'm going to tell you is one that is public domain. When we started out, it was like, what can technology do for us? We can use it to solve many problems. Oh yeah, tell us one problem we can solve. Well, we have a problem with our payroll. We have a problem with identifying people. We have. So, wouldn't it be great if we could biometrically verify everybody? What's biometrics? It's when you do, so you're going to fingerprint everybody. How long ago was this conversation, sir? 2005. 2005. And it was like, you're going to do what? Fingerprint identity? Yes. Now, when I talk about vision, and I don't make any apologies for there was a gentleman by the name of Nasiru El-Rufai. He said, you're going to do what? Are you sure you can do it? He says, I've come from the UK. This is what I did for the UK government. Are you sure? Okay, go and call Aziz. The man looked at me at this. Okay, you think you can do it? Biometrics, yeah, I know about biometrics. What type are you going to use? Are you going to use this? And I freaked out because I'm looking and saying, how on earth does somebody in government have that level of technology knowledge? It's not common. You didn't know that. Cut the long story short, we took 26,000 people, and ICC, International Conference Center, everybody's file. You come, you pick your file with biometric, we verify you. That was the beginning. From 26,000, we validated 19,000 something, nearly 7,000 ghost workers. Yep, in the FCT at that time. Okay? Nasiru was so excited. Do you know what he did? No, this can't stop with the FCT. Oh yeah, let's do. Federal government sold it to the president and the World Bank. And they said pilot. Now, you'd think that this was history, but it formed the basis of a lifelong friendship that has led to one of my most influential startups in Abuja. The gentleman I worked with at that time was the director of ICT for the FCT. Today, we know him as the Director General, of the National Identity Management Commission. I would like to hear a few words from my friend, Engineer Aliu Aziz. Engineer, please.
Thank you very much. I'm so humbled. When you mentioned startups in government, so I started thinking, as if you knew that way back in 2005, we were brainstorming. We spent days brainstorming of what needs to happen. And of course, it's TD that is the lead that will bring the storm, you understand, ask questions and so on and so forth. So really we learned a lot from him. So I want to assure you that I am a typical government-bred startup way back in 2005, and I rise up to this level. And of course, there's a lot of progress. Before we started, there are starting and stopping and the rest of them. And still, without much funding, but we were able to come up with ideas, to come up with ways to enforce, because the laws are always available, but enforcing them is always very, very difficult. And you can't enforce by noise. When you want to make noise, all the newspaper, media, they will just squander you. So, and I got those advices from him. Rather, is to come up with policies and follow through. And today, we are almost getting to 100 million enrollment in the few years. And based on his advice that we should focus, if we continue to do ID card, because what everybody knows is ID card, then it's Forex, that you have to spend your money outside. But if you focus on the number, which is in the UK too, is national insurance number, which is the same NIN that we have, similar to social security number in the US. They don't have national ID card. So when I took over as DG NIMSI in 2015, we focused on the number. And believe you me, I took over 7 million, and in 2016, we doubled the number to 14 million. And everybody was surprised. What is it? What is the magic? It's by just focusing on this. The small resources you have, you focus on what really the need of the people. And the next year too, we doubled the 14 to 28. Then told us that is the geometric progression that we see. So from that, whatever we do, we bring in our engineering, our mathematics into it. But no, it's not only the number. We want, that is the Y. We want dy by dx. Calculus comes into the picture. That is the rate of growth. That who are the ones, and then we start putting the data, putting the demographics, looking at who are the people. These are the main people that you have. What of the children? What of the elderly people? You go to sectorally, from moving from before it's government offices that you must come to the mountain. Then he has taught us how the mountain will go to Muhammad. Then we started going to churches, going to mosques, going to offices to then go and enroll people. That's how we came up with the PPP approach, whereby now we have vendors that will buy their own equipment. Capture is all what we need is capture the number, and then we pay them based on success, the success story of successful. So TD have been working in also in the government startup. I'm a typical example of that. Thank you very much, TD. Yeah. Yeah.
We're lucky to have like minds.
I'm just happy that El Rufai introduced you to like minds. When he met you, what did he say? You have somebody like this in this office? Which means that we have people in the office ready to serve, and nobody identifies them. You're just lucky that El Rufai. Sorry, what is your name again?
Engineer Aliu Aziz.
No, but what did Rufai say that day?
Aziz.
Call Aziz. So that's the new catchword. Call Aziz.
Well, don't leave yet because it gets a bit better. Because unfortunately he can't be here, but he's with us in spirit. When I first met Engineer, there was a young man that was using the laptop in your house. Can you remember? Yes. A tiny little boy, 16-year-old. Okay? I am proud to say, today, that young man's name is Faiz Bashir. The reason Faiz isn't here is because his startup is expanding into Europe. His nephew. Now, FlexiServe is the name of the company. And FlexiServe currently employs over 150 people in Abuja. They have over 1 million children under management by their systems. To me, that's what impact is all about. Okay, and that is why I am particularly proud of this relationship. Okay, you don't get two founders, one in government and one in private sector, to brag about in a place like Abuja. Thank you, engineer.
Thank you.
Oh, wow. Isn't it interesting that on that note, we have gradually come to the very, very end of the event for today. However, the very last thing we must all do, there's nobody that is allowed to leave this place without a copy of the book. So we have come to the point where we demonstrate and show clearly our love and appreciation for TD by picking up copies of the book. Now, not just picking up copies of the book, never mind, I'm going to directly send you the link to order the book on Amazon, so you can also buy for others. Don't just, we can learn from TD, not just to be selfish and go away. Follow up some other person, be a blessing to some other person by picking up a copy of the book. So we are going straight into the business of buying the book. Can we have the account details for payment projected on the screen, please? And I'm well aware that Faiz had pre-ordered some copies, which TD will be signing. So TD, I'd like you to just come over here. So, and from there, he'll be signing copies. So please make your payment. Come forward for your copy of the book. And the launch price, the cover price for today is 25,000 naira. And I'm sure that that is not enough value for the experience that is all gathered and put in that book. So, let me know by show of hands how many copies you want. Or if you and I have chatted and you have my number, send me an SMS and tell me, or a WhatsApp message or anything, and tell me how many copies you want. And then TD will sign those books and then make sure that you have them. It's not a typical launch, you know what I'm saying? It's not the one that say, I here on behalf of all my villagers sign, launch the book for XYZ amount. Just, quietly let me know. And then TD is sitting down here, is signing the books, and you get a copy. And so we're good. Titi just told me something that is a very special stamp for those who attended today. So we're in for a pleasant surprise.
Go to the other side. People will stand on this side.
Okay, so we have a lot of family represented here. While TD's, while we're buying copies of the books and paying. Okay, that's a screen over there. The account number is there. Please make your payment. Let me know how many books you want. And then TD is busy signing it. We'll just quickly take the vote of thanks. And to do that, all right. Engineer Aziz wants 2 copies. Thank you, sir. All right, so we'll take a vote of thanks. I'd like to call up TD's Yewande Amusha. A round of applause for her. She's going to give us a vote of thanks.
Thank you very much. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I think I've been drafted into a last-minute job. It's not my forte, but I think I'll muddle through. I'd like to use the opportunity to say a big thank you to everybody, because it's not easy to create the time to come out, to listen, and to ask questions, and also to make it very interactive as it has been. And I know that even though I didn't know what I was expecting to hear, I've been able to take a lot out of here. The founder of Jumbo, I think we were having a conversation, and I think I was probing quite a bit in terms of all the different ideas that he had. It was interesting to find that people are doing so many things. So I'd like to use this opportunity to thank everybody for being an active member and being able to contribute into all the topics that have been discussed today. So we pray that everybody gets home safely. And for those who are fasting, may Allah receive all of our prayers and actualize all of our dreams and prayers. And to everybody, I wish you all the best. Thank you very much for being very supportive of our brother here, because without you, he would not be able to at least communicate or achieve the goal that he has and his vision. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Andy.
Yes, please. Don't go away. Actually, we're just finishing the formal part of it. Refreshment is served in here. So take your drinks. Yeah. Oh, sorry, Tidi.
No, this is the part I've been waiting for, because this is where we actually get to talk.
Exactly.
So please, let's hang out. I'm going to be here a while. I want to talk to each and every one of you. Okay? So please do me that honor. Even if you're not buying a book. If you buy, fine. Even if you're not buying, let's have a chat. It'll be good to catch up. Thanks a lot.
All right, so don't go away. Don't be in a hurry to go away. We're done with the formal part of it. This is where the deals get done, right? So please hang out and Dr. TD. So we'll be having our long refreshment in there, and then there's also provision for iftar for those who our brethren who are waiting, fasting.
Kashifu sent him. We're no longer. No, we're on the same side now. We're on the same side now. Yes, because you are giving ISN an office in Abuja. Yeah, we will do that. This is public. So I've got witnesses. Bankole, did you hear that? He's going to give ISN an office at NIDA in Abuja. Okay. Please, can I have a round of applause? Thank you. You're very welcome. Thank you very much. Pleasure. Yeah. Say a word.
All right. Thank you very much for the opportunity. I'm Yakubu Musa. I'm privileged to be the Acting National Coordinator Office for Nigerian Digital Innovation. I'm here representing my boss, the Director General of NIDA, Kashifu Inua, who unfortunately is out of the country. And but he had directed that I come here and represent him. I'm actually very, very excited. Why? Because TD is someone I've always admired, and I've always been looking forward to meeting someday. And so when my boss sent me a message early in the early hours of yesterday, I was going through while having my pre-dawn meal, preparing for the fasting, and my wife saw me smiling at, reading my phone and staring at my phone and smiling. And she sometimes teases me that she hopes it's not a message from some other lady. But I told her it's something very exciting. Why? Because I've been told to be part of the launching of this book written by TD, and it's something that I've really been looking forward to meeting him someday. And I just want to appreciate you, sir. Well, we are part of the government, and we're in the business of providing support for the ecosystem. And I would say that building a successful startup ecosystem entails three things. One, having the enabling policies and regulations. Secondly, the support structures required to provide the needed mentoring and support for startups to grow. And thirdly, funding. And I must say that, sir, you have really played a critical role in all these three aspects and have made what the Nigerian startup ecosystem, you've made it what it is today. And we appreciate you, and we look forward to your continued support as we implement the Startup Act. So it's a pleasure to be here, and I'm super excited meeting you here today. Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you so very much. So if you've made your payment, you can send it to me, and then just let me know. We'll just get signed copies for you. STD, are you done? Are you done? By the way, we have limited copies here, so you can still pre-order. You can still order on Amazon to get your copies later.
Okay. Do I have to say anything else? I've said thank you. I've said thank you. I think we're pretty much done, unless you want to start to hear me. You guys will get bored, though. So I think there's lecture. No, what I'm going to tell you is to go placidly amid the noise and haste. And remember what peace there may be in silence. As far as possible, without surrender. Be on good terms with all persons. Speak your truth quietly and clearly. And listen to others, even the dull and ignorant. They too have their own story. Avoid loud and aggressive persons. You know why? They're vexations to the spirit. If you compare yourself to others, do you know what's going to happen? You're either going to become vain or bitter. Why? Because there's always going to be lesser and greater persons than yourself. I could go on, but
Thank you.
You get it.
Sir.
Yeah, so they have the evidence. Yes.